agree, disagree. So what could be possible ways to present the agree, disagree essay? A lot of students complain about what features needs to be imputed when writing this essay type. I'll take you to the classroom showing you how to analyze the agree, disagree questions, how to create your outline from the question, and most importantly, how to make up your paragraphs, which includes your introduction, your first and second body content, and the conclusion. Let's get to the classroom.
Okay, I'll welcome you one more time to the Gonzalo Principles. Today we shall be looking at the agree, disagree essay, and like you know, it's one of the task type you will likely come across in the test. Today the question we shall be looking at is parents are the best teachers. Do you agree or disagree with the following statements? So we're to use specific reasons and examples to support our position. So our key concept here will be here to see whether we agree or we disagree here. So for this essay, I will be agreeing to this statement here. And below down here, I've created a simple outline. So once you have the essay, the first thing you have to do is to understand the question first. 2, get to know what the task type requires of you, which in the case is to agree or disagree to a question. And finally, we have to look at for an outline. The outline gives us a skeletal picture of what our essay will look like. So in my outline, I intend to write 4 paragraphs, which I always advise my students to work with, because the more you write, the instance of making more mistakes. So to avoid a lot of boo-boos and mistakes in the mix of your writing there, try as much as possible to reduce the paragraph number, and don't forget our word count should be 250. It shouldn't go below 250, but we can make it above 250. So I shall be working between 250 and 300 within that range there. So quickly, my first paragraph will be telling the rater or the examiner that I want to agree, and I try to paraphrase the question, which is what we have here. Then afterwards, I will go straight to my second paragraph, which is to talk about my first point here. Education begins at home. So I make my elaboration on that point there for my paragraph 2. My paragraph 3 here, I shall be talking about parental proximity, which is my second point. And finally, I conclude my essay re-emphasizing on what I have fully agreed on. I know you're wondering at how do you develop ideas to create points out of them. The first thing is trying to understand the question first. Okay, now I have 2 parts to the question. The parents are the best teachers. So I either say yes, parents are the best teachers, or I say no, parents are not the best teachers. And obviously, for you to take a position, you should have basic ideas that come alongside with these stance there. So let's get straight to what my introduction will look like. So basically, I advise students to have at least 2 sentences to make up the introduction. Try not to overwrite the introduction, and never make any point development in your introduction. Remember, all points elaboration should be done in the body content, which could be your paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. So in the introduction here, which is part where I say I agree, I start off with my agree statement without wasting time. Now basically, I can just have this agree statement down to the end here. Okay, it's still a wonderful thing, but don't forget that I actually want to make an emphasis. That's why I have it at the very beginning here. I can still have it at the end, which makes up my thesis statement. Remember, for those that have not looked at my essay on the introduction of the essay, I would encourage you to go to the video how to make a perfect essay introduction for the IELTS, and watch out for how I make my thesis and my background statement. So my thesis statement can come directly at the end of the structure of my paragraph for the introduction. But in this case, I've decided to put it first in order to create the emphasis for my introduction. And afterwards there, I started off with my little paraphrase for the question. So here, I could not agree less, meaning I agree to this position that parents are the best teachers. And I went on to say it is common knowledge that both fathers and mothers, which I in a way paraphrase here to represent her parents. So instead of saying parents from the question, I use my own words and say fathers and mothers play a major role in the formal and informal tutelage of their children. However, the impact of professional preceptors cannot be treated with a pinch of salt. Yeah, I tried using a little bit of an expression we call the idiomatic expression. So if you feel you don't know much about the idiomatic expression, please, I'll advise you just leave it out. But if you're very sure of its context and its usage, I encourage you to use it unanimously in your structure because it kind of creates a complexity the raters are looking out for. For these, if you look at it carefully, my first sentence here, I could not agree less, was a simple sentence, but my second sentence came in very, very complex. So I try to advise students, don't write a particular type of sentence all through. So if you're starting off with a simple, make sure you don't end with a simple. If you start with a complex, make sure you don't end with a complex. So you create a variety, because the more variety you have, the better. And while you've created these, try much as possible to make sure that each of the sentences you put in there actually has a role to play. Avoid redundancy, because the more you do with the in other words, you try to create a lot of sentences that do not have any function in the structure of the paragraphs there. So in this case, I've created 2 sentences to make up my introduction. So moving on to my second paragraph, here I will be introducing my first point, which is my point 1. So what's my first point? As earlier introduced, I talked about education beginning at home. So this is the point I intend to discuss in this paragraph. The best way to go about it is to make sure you start off your paragraph with your point. So the paragraph becomes my cover statement here. Okay, so it's better you have your cover statement right at the very beginning of your paragraph because the raters see where you're coming from. Try not to overwrite your cover statement, which is the statement that carries the point you intend to discuss. Make it as succinct and clear as you can. Mine is in a simple sentence, which I encourage students to always have their cover statements in the simple form. There, it's clear to the point. To begin with, the primary form of education begins from the home front. Now, I can't say more than this. This is what I intend to discuss. So I'm building up my ideas towards this. So I'm wondering, what would my next sentence look like? So I'm saying, okay, fine, I have to build my second sentence. So I need something to hinge on. So I'm hinging on primary form of education, okay? I'm hinging on this phrase to build my next sentence. One of the challenges most students face is when they make up their cover statement, they are at a loss, to be very clear, that about what should be the next thing they should write. And remember, your point should serve as a nexus to what discourse you intend to make there. So in this case, I'm using primary form of education for my cover statement to make up my first extension. Basic life skills and cognitive abilities are first learned in the home, and parents, though not formally trained, are responsive to these activities within and outside their living space. So I'm wondering, the primary form of education I'm referring to basic life skills and their cognitive abilities. So I'm building on that idea to have my first extension. So to begin with my next idea, which I've seen probably created here to be my detailed statement here, I'm working on what set of words that will help me develop this. So I'll go quickly back to life skills and cognitive abilities in this sentence of my first extension. So I'm ending on this sentence phrase, life skills and cognitive abilities, to build my detailed statement here. So I'm going straight to say, for instance, psychomotor skills such as walking, running, and jumping are first learned at home. In addition, basic societal morals and values like respect for the elderly ones are taught even before formal education begins. So you're not really writing an abstraction. One sentence uses out from another. So with that, you have this interconnection of ideas without you drawing any idea backwards there. So note carefully, I started off with my cover statement. The primary form of education begins from the home front. Then I hinged on this phrase here, primary form of education, to start off my next sentence. So what are the primary form of education? I started with the basic skills and cognitive abilities I first learned, and the home and parents, though not formally trained, are responsive to these activities within and outside their living space. Now, making up my detailed statement there, I hinged on life skills and cognitive abilities to create my next sentence. So I said, for instance, psychomotor skills such as walking, running, jumping all first learned at home. In addition, basic societal morals and values like respect for the elderly ones are taught even before formal education begins. So in a way, all sentences are integrated because I have something that is being hinged on, or a phrase that is being hinged on each time I make a new sentence. Let's look at my third paragraph. In my third paragraph, I brought in my second point, which is parental proximity. Okay, now I started off with a simple sentence as usual, from this point here down to this point here. I also tried to bring in what I call a linker here subsequently to show some form of integration. Now, with my simple cover statement, I've introduced my second point, which is parental proximity. In addition to that, I try as much as possible to make sure whatever I write afterwards there does not create any form of repetition or redundancy. So to start off my second sentence in my third paragraph, I have to hinge on something. So what I hinged on was parental proximity. So that is a phrase that I hinged on, and I started with by saying, okay, so in my second sentence, I hinged on the word parental proximity to create it. So here, even as adults, we one way or the other run back to our parents for one reason or the other, because that's parents, I had to put that in brackets so I didn't create some form of ambiguity, have a better perception of life as a result of the experiences they have passed through. So with this here, I try to show why this proximity from our parents are coming very handy. Okay, so my next sentence begins here, and I said personal issues such as family squabbles, career difficulty, health and social interests are better discussed with parents. So I'm wondering now, what did I hinge on in my previous sentences there? In my previous sentence, I tried to hinge on the reason why we actually meet our parents in the first place. So I tried to say one of the reasons why we meet our parents here in my next sentence was because probably might have family squabbles, career difficulties, health and social interests are better discussed with our parents here. So once the sentence ends, I try to bring in a detail because I'm also watching out for my word count, or on my word count rather, to make sure I make up to 250 and above if possible. So my last sentence there, which is my detail, comes in afterwards here. And I try to what should I hinge on to create my detail statement there. Remember, you must always hinge on something, you must always connect what has been done previously, so you don't write out of context or probably out of space. What I'm hinging on here will be career difficulty. Okay, I could have hinged on family squabbles, health, social interest. It depends on what you want to hinge on. But here I'm hinging on career difficulty, and that serves as the foundation for my detail here. For example, a major misunderstanding in the office with a fellow colleague as a result of a huge age difference can be related with one's parents easily, since they know one better due to the closeness that have existed over the years. Remember, I said one's parents, and I say one. So try as much as possible not to say one's parents, since they know you better. Remember, the rule is once I start off with one, I must end with one. So what you've actually gotten out of this is, for every sentence I write, I try to create a keyword or key set of phrases in them, so that when I write another one, I have something to fall back to. So let's look at this paragraph again. I started off with proximity, parental proximity enhances a problem-free life, and the sentence ended there. So in writing my second sentence or my next sentence, I had to hinge on something, which was parental proximity. Okay, I hinged on that to create my next sentence there. Even as adults, we one way or the other run back to our parents for one reason or the other, because they, as our parents, have a better perception of life as a result of the experiences they have passed through. So to make up this sentence, I fall back to parental proximity. So I'm wondering, I want to make my next sentence now. What do I fall back to? So I fell back to reason. So what as a reason why we have to run back to our parents? I said personal issues such as family squabbles, career difficulties, health and social interests are better discussed with parents. Okay, so that creates kind of a nexus to what has been previously done. Now, to create a detail in order to create some form of enormous word counts here, I have to fall back to something again. So out of family squabbles, career difficulties, health and social interests, I fell back to career difficulties. So I picked these to discuss my details. So for example, a major misunderstanding in the office. So the office here is a key element that connects the operative word here, or phrase there, career difficulties, and with a fellow colleague as a result of a huge age difference can be related with one's parents easily since they know one better due to the closeness that have existed over the years. So you know that every sentence must have something it hinges or branches off on. Let's look at what my next sentence will look like, or sorry, paragraph, which obviously will be my conclusion. In writing a conclusion, it simply implies that you're almost done with the entirety of the essay write-up and you just want to draw the curtains and say your bye-byes, okay? So start off with here, I always advise students that if you're writing the agree, disagree essay, in your conclusion, the first sentence of a conclusion should in a way touch the other part or the other variable you didn't pick. Like for instance, I agreed that parents are the best teachers. So, or the other way around, I could say, though teachers also played a little role, doesn't necessarily mean that they're out of the page or probably out of the check there. So while you're creating your first sentence, try to look at the other opposite variable and create a little sentence to accommodate that. Remember, you're not making any points on that there. Then once you're done with that sentence, you can now create your what we call the reaffirmation of your thesis statement, which will be definitely be your last sentence. So in a way, do not ever write a one sentence paragraph. Make sure you have at least two sentences in a paragraph, even though they are both two simple sentences. It's better to have two full stops than just one. So let's look at what I did here. To this end, it should be observed unanimously that teachers, mean professionally trained individuals, are major actors in the formation and development of positive minds. So I ended there to show that though parents are doing a great job, teachers are also playing better roles in the formation of our lives there. But I went back to reaffirm what I've agreed on initially by saying, however, which is a contrasting marker, a wonderful one there, parents are burdened with an endless need to train, educate, and impact those around them, most especially their children. So with these, you can definitely see how they all integrate, and make sure while you're writing, you use a variety of words. If you notice carefully, I try to use a variety of words, register to beautify and build up my idea into a very strong, positive essay. Okay, so I guess we got all the nitty-gritty of the agree, disagree. So first, start off.
Well, I hope you had a nice time. So from the look of things, you can see that most of the essay you write could be written wrongly. That's why a lot of students end up with a band lower than 6. So if you actually feature all what I've discussed in the essay, you definitely will increase your score bands. And make sure you practice every now and then. Don't forget, get someone to assess your essays. You can be the jury, and executioner all in one blow. Keep practicing and keep pushing it. You're almost there. In my next video, I'll be talking about the advantages and disadvantages essay. What are the basic drawbacks to this essay? Why do students kind of find it very difficult to scale through and ace the advantages and disadvantages essay? If you've not subscribed to this channel, I will encourage you to do so now, so when I pop up that video, you get it on the go. Don't forget, everything you get on this channel is to enhance your communicative abilities in the English language, and make sure you put them to practice. So we'll meet again. Bye-bye.